So Corey, you like games a lot, right?
I dabble.
I love casual games, the small ones that you can play a quick party. But the problem is, usually those games, I get bored about them after playing a couple of times. So the next group, they set up to create a multiplayer, real-time dungeon game with procedurally generated levels, which means that every time you play, you have a different level and a different experience. So I'll head over to the engineers behind D6 Dungeon to tell you more.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today and tuning in. My name is Tyler Brooks, and with me are Eugene Park and Robert Goon. Together, we have created a game called D6 Dungeon. D6 Dungeon is a two-player roguelike cooperative game built for the browser. We found that similar roguelike games tend to be single-player only or have limited multiplayer functionality. So we set out to make a multiplayer roguelike game where you can join a friend and delve into a dungeon together. All of the levels are procedurally generated based upon a grid size and the number of rooms needed. The map generator designates a starting room and a boss room for each level. Enemy types are then selected at random based upon what type of room has been assigned by the level generator. We designed the game this way to ensure maximum replayability. So let's take a look at D6 Dungeon in action. Our first player will open the game and find a shareable link at the bottom of the screen. After sharing this link with a friend, both players are now ready to play. And with that, I'll turn it over to Eugene to talk about gameplay.
Thanks, Tyler. Now that both players are connected, they will explore through the map, face a variety of enemies, and are challenged to work together to outsmart the monsters. When the players enter a new room, the doors lock behind them. Once all the enemies have been cleared from a room, the doors open up, allowing further progression. Defeating monsters will also reward players with several different item drops to aid them on their journey. While exploring and clearing the floor, room by room, players will eventually encounter the floor's boss, and will have to try to vanquish him. But even after the boss has been defeated, the game isn't over yet. Now, the players can traverse downwards, deeper into the dungeon, to conquer a larger, newly generated level. For D6 Dungeon, we decided to use Phaser. Phaser is a 2D JavaScript game framework that includes collision and physics systems. Because Phaser is made for the browser and is JavaScript-based, it was the better choice over using other game development tools, since it allowed us to spend more time on development. For anything that Phaser didn't already have built in, we used some useful libraries or coded ourselves using JavaScript. To talk about these are Robert.
Thanks, Eugene. The most significant library we used was Socket.io, which was crucial for turning our originally single-player game into a two-player cooperative game. This was the most challenging aspect to implement. We had to make sure we maintained common states on both the client and server, as well as handle client-server communications for all of the players, enemies, and level interactions. This keeps the two players in sync at all times. Because we wanted to allow multiple games to run on our server, we added socket rooms that permit only two players to join, which also introduced additional complexity to our codebase. Another problem we had to tackle was implementing enemy pathfinding. There are several pathfinding algorithms available, and our research led us to A-star as being one of the most accurate and efficient. Since several A-star libraries exist for JavaScript, we decided to use the Easystar library. We implemented the enemy pathfinding logic by storing the enemy and player locations on the server. The server then pulls in the socket room, the current dungeon room the players are in, as well as enemy and player data. We then determine which player is closest to each enemy, and Easystar creates the best path for the enemy to reach the player. You can access our game at our Heroku link and our code on GitHub. Once again, thank you all for joining us today, and we hope that you have fun playing D6 Dungeon. See you in the dungeon.
All right, to vote for D6 Dungeon, you know what to do. Like the post, like the pinned comment. That's awesome. I think procedural generation is something that I think is underutilized. Are you playing the game right now, Corey?
Cassio said it. I just had to do it.
Okay. Wow, multi-direction. Are you throwing apples?
I'm throwing something.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the thing I was watching the gameplay. It's when pathing is too good, it's scary. It's really scary. It's like Terminator hunting you down. You know?
Yeah.
Like humans don't path like computers do. So I never want to be hunted by someone implemented with Dijkstra.